everybody. This is Napalm Jedd Johnson, and this is episode 43 of This Week in Grip. I've got Alan Heineck on the line. Ricardo is busy with basketball tournaments today, so he will not be joining us, but Alan and I are going to get the job done. That's exactly what Alan and Ricardo did last week on episode 42. Good job with that one, Alan. I got that up while I was in Dubai. What exactly did you guys cover last week, Alan? Tell everybody about it, and maybe they'll go back and listen to episode 42.
We actually brought up quite a bit of training discussion last week. Came up actually. Ricardo's got a lot of good modalities there. Talked about the new driftless pinch block. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's a climbing based company. It sounds like they have a different grip type implements, so they're geared around climbing items. I think they have like some fingertip type holds, but they've recently started making a number of different pinch blocks. And Ricardo picked up one of the larger ones. I think it was the 3-inch, and was doing a bunch of heavy overload type work on those. It sounds like they have a pretty good texture, so they enable you to load your hands differently than what we see on some of our other implements, where they're a little bit more truly friction based. Mm-hmm. So that was a really good review there. If people haven't checked them out, I know I've seen. I don't know if it's Tanner Merkel, or I think it was Tanner actually that picked up probably one of the wider ones, and he'd been playing with it, lifting some monstrous weight. I'm not sure who else I've seen out there recently with them, but it looks like something that's catching on. I thought it was a really good way to continue on with the training.
What'd you say those were called, Alan?
It's from that driftless, I think driftless climbing, or I could have the exact name wrong, but they're let me see if I can bring it up right now on Amazon. That's driftless. Who they're actually available through.
I gotcha.
And they're like they're a molded plastic type of pinch block. It looks like they got kind of an eye bolt in the bottom of them for attaching to the loading pin. So I actually think they appear like they might be semi-hollow on the inside, so you couldn't necessarily grip it different ways. If you looked at it from the bottom, it would almost have like that, I don't know, almost like a webbed appearance or something like that, where you see some of those cross pieces to reinforce plastic sometimes.
Right.
It's along those lines. But it looked like a really good, different way to train things anyway.
Cool. What else? Anything else? Was there a contest you guys covered from last week's show, episode 42?
I'm trying to remember about that right now, actually. We talked about, let me see what I can thumb back through here quick. We only briefly hinted on something that's going to come up today. We talked about a couple of the new world records that were set. We might have covered one contest in particular, though I am drawing a bit of a blank on it right now.
Didn't I think it was Jesse Pignonin that got a silver bullet record?
Yes, that's what it was. It was the Finnish Nationals.
Gotcha.
Nationals. It's coming back to me now. Yeah, boy, it's been a busy week. So, yeah. Yep. Jesse Pinonin got the new silver bullet world record. I don't remember what his exact time was, but he beat it by several seconds. There was a lady that we featured on the show before. I gotta say, I pronounce it Mervy Pecky. It's probably incorrect, but went and blasted the record on the Iron Mine Hub. Put up just 57.99 pounds. So that's a respectable lift for men and women alike. I mean, that's a solid lift. So congratulations to her. And that put a solid kilogram over the previous world record. So this is something that's likely to stick around for a while.
Cool. So, well, that's all in episode 42, guys. So if you didn't catch that, go back and check it out. I'll grab the link and put it in the description box so that you can find that real easy. And while you're there, be sure to give that one a like, and also give this one a like too. The reason I say that is because looking at last week's show, episode 42, we were at 193 views but only 14 likes. So that's less than 10% likes, and the algorithm that YouTube uses, it judges popularity of the video by likes. That's one of the measures, and you want to get at least 10% likes compared to the view count. So you got to ask people to hit that like button, the thumbs up button that's in the video. That'll help us out big time. Lots of action on This Week in Grip. For the hashtag on Instagram, I just checked that. It's up to 968 posts according to my phone. So we're almost at...
Somebody is Yep, somebody tacked one on there since I had checked about an hour ago or so, probably. So good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Nice.
What's nice is when someone uses the hashtag and then the video gets shared. For instance, Brian Hunsacker has put up several videos with the This Week in Grip hashtag, and then someone else ends up sharing his video with the same description. So that will then replicate the hashtag again, so that gets in front of even more people. And then once they click on that hashtag, they are able to see all kinds of different feet videos that are up. And remember, that's what it's all about, getting it out in front of people, getting more awareness. And after all, Alan, you know, the first rule of grip sport is you tell everyone about grip sport. We're going to talk about the hands-on grip games competition that took place on February 3rd. I helped run that along with Luke. Made a good team once again, and it was a very successful competition. But first, Alan, any cool highlights from your training recently that you'd like to share with everybody? I always like to hear about what you got going on.
I've been just making some steady progress, working on a lot of different things. I'd say training overall is going pretty good. I've incorporated a few new things here and there. I actually picked up a Napalm's Nightmare, so that's been fun playing around with. I'm not lifting anything like Brian Hunsacker and the other guys are, but it's neat throwing in. It allows me to kind of lift in a way that I'm not particularly strong at. In the overhand position like that, I feel very weak. Mm-hmm. I'm more of a neutral lift kind of guy when it comes to thick bar. So it's a neat little thing to throw in. Doing lots of work with the inch pinch also, actually. I love that thing. I really can't get enough of it. It's such a simple little device. I had the one made up like what Jerome Bloom did. So it's kind of like the half-width one that's got the plate on the bottom, so you got a kind of a stop. You can only grab on it so far. So that thing's a ton of fun. Just a great alternative if you've tweaked a finger on something else. If you've opened up a nice gash, you can use that and get a lot of work in. So
yeah,
yep.
And it's not
overall
super expensive either. So it's an easy addition to your equipment repertoire.
Well, yeah, that's what Ricardo and I were actually talking about that last week. Is that Luke's prices are incredibly reasonable. It's like I don't even know what that thing was. It was like $10 or $15 shipped or something like that. For that price, you should just buy it to try it.
Right.
No harm in that. So even the Napalm's Nightmare, the price on that was incredibly reasonable as well.
Yeah, that's what we've always talked about, is trying to keep everything nice and reasonable, so we weren't killing everybody with the markup. Some of the markup on these products, after actually knowing what the materials cost, I can't believe people charge what they charge for some of this equipment. It's like they want to pay themselves $100 an hour for whipping up a certain piece of equipment, So,
well, yeah, and to go along with the pricing too, a lot of stuff that I know is a huge turnoff to people is just what shipping costs have become lately. Depending on where you go from, and that has for me personally, a big impact on what I am buying. Because when you're spending, like you go to order a hub from Iron Mine, for example. And you get the hub for, I don't even know what they go for, $30, $40. I'm not even totally sure what they go for, but then shipping's like another $15 on top of it,
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about nearly half the price. It's kind of,
right.
I know what it costs to ship things, and it isn't that,
No,
So it's like, it just, it all factors in, because it makes things that are inexpensive to begin with quite expensive in the end when you throw that on top of it.
Right.
So.
Yep. It goes from reasonable to unreasonable real quick when you're
yes, very much so.
$20 on shipping. $20 is more than the biggest flat rate box that I know of with the USPS. So I think that's like $18.50 or something like that for the giant flat rate box.
Yeah.
So when it's $20 to get like a box of red nails or something like that, it's kind of disturbing. So. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the deal is there. I've always assumed, I haven't asked, I've always assumed that it had something to do with their contract with their shipping provider, and that there might be a certain base rate that they use or something. I don't know, but it's either way, it's unrealistic.
Right.
Knowing what the prices actually are. So, All right. Well, thank you for picking up the Napalm's Nightmare. I'm glad to hear that you're happy with it so far, dude, and hopefully you continue to be.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Napalm's Nightmare happened to be one of the events at Hands-On Grip Games from February 3rd, actually. That was the first time that it was held in a competition, and the event went really, really well. Like, it went so well that I'm gonna I would say that it could easily replace the axle for a thick bar lift in a competition. It's so much easier to judge the setup that we use compared to like judging lockout on a deadlift on an axle. It's insane, and the learning curve was much easier as well. Like, I mean, I had multiple kids that have never. So I had 4 or 5 kids from just my lifting crew that competed at the competition, and all of them were able to just walk over there, grab the implement, and do the lift without, sacrificing, that knowledge sacrifice, that awareness of like technique and stuff like that. It just didn't even matter with the Napalm's Nightmare. Compared to the axle, it would have been a nightmare trying to get the kids to be able to do that, because I don't have them deadlift on a straight bar. I have them use a hex bar. So
sure.
Yeah. But we can go ahead and talk about the grip games now, unless you wanted to talk about anything else from your training, Alan.
Just one thing to throw out. We mentioned Brian Hunsacker right out of the gate. I just wanted to send him out some well wishes. He just put up a beastly lift on Instagram, but it sounds like he'd done something to his right wrist, which is going to have him decommissioned for a little while. So I just hope he bounces right back from that, whatever it is. So,
jeez, that stinks, man. I didn't see that. Holy
cow. It's unfortunate, but if it's any consolation, his weak hand though still seems incredibly strong when you're picking up 505 pounds on a farmer's handle. So he's still on his A game, one way or the other.
Well, so, I saw the gigantic lift on the farmer's handle, but I didn't read the description, so I must have just missed it. But yeah, I echo that, man. Brian's a great guy. I hope he is able to bounce back from that here real soon.
Yep.
Yeah. So
all right.
Yeah. So the hands-on grip games took place on February 3rd, and we ran it at Average Tim's gym on the Golden Mile in Wysox, Towanda, Pennsylvania. So big shout out to Tim Smith, who owns that gym, for letting us use that facility, because let me tell you something, dude. We had 20 competitors, I believe, and there's no way we could have made this contest work in my garage. There's just no way it could have happened. I don't think I would have had enough toilet paper for everybody to use at my garage. So
I
it
imagine
was nice.
Space gets cramped in a hurry.
Yes, that's the main thing. We would just have totally maxed out the space, and it was chilly, so it's not like we could have opened up the door and had people hang out outside. It was very chilly, so It worked out great. It's been a great alliance working with Average Tim's in order to keep these contests reasonable, and it really worked out great. It really did. Like I said, we had 20 competitors, I believe. I think we reported 21, but actually I think what happened there is my name was on the list twice on the sign-up sheet by accident. So we actually had 20. We had, and that would be the biggest grip contest I've held probably ever, especially if you take out the nationals and the U.S. championships that I ran. And we might have hit close to it at one of the global grip challenges way back in the early 2000s, but definitely in the last 10 years, I would say this was easily the biggest contest that I was involved in. So I was excited, very excited to have so many people there. I had, like I mentioned, we had several kids from my weightlifting group, all of them wrestlers. Those would be Dusty Cook, who's a 17-year-old. He lifted in the 66-kilo class. Aaron Carr, who is 12, and he lifted in the 66-kilo class, as well as Aiden Hunsinger, who I think is still 11 right now, 66 kilo. And then the last one was Dawson Brown, who is, I think, 16 and doesn't yet have his driver's license. And he was in the 105 kilo class. Dawson is the kind of guy that when the workout is done, if he's got 5 minutes left, he goes and grabs dumbbells and block weights and either lifts the dumbbells in like a claw grip or does block weight training. So he's really turned on to grip stuff, and he generally wins if there's like a grip test that we do in the lifting session. So I think, yeah, man, and all the kids really enjoyed it, and I think Dawson in particular, because he's liked it for so long, I could really see him continuing to do well in grip contests if he stuck with it.
That's great. Seeing the kids get involved. Plus, not to mention, this sort of stuff is going to be more useful for your hands than like an Xbox controller. It'd be nice to see kids start heading the other way. So
yeah, no doubt.
Getting them active again. Yep.
Yeah, I'd love to see like at Christmas time these kids ask for like a few grippers. You know what I mean? Room and stuff like that. The younger kids, Aaron and Aiden, they were like, "Can we start doing more of this stuff in our training sessions, Coach Jedd?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, I'll try to get it worked in." Like they loved the 2-hand pinch, man. They absolutely loved it. They thought
nice.
Was cool. Yeah. The only thing that I had them try before the event was the Napalm's Nightmare. I think that's the only thing that they had tried. All the other stuff, it was still their first time using it because they actually didn't decide to compete until like the week before. In fact, I've never even tried to pressure any of the kids that I've trained over the years to come to competitions. I have asked kids to come and like help me set up, and I fill out their volunteer sheets for their school, for their volunteer hours. That's real big in like Pennsylvania. You have to have like 10 or 20 volunteer hours in order to graduate high school. So,
I never heard of that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But so everything went real well, and they seemed excited. So that was nice. Then I'll run down each weight class, okay? And then if you have any questions on anything, Alan, you just hit me up, all right?
All right.
Don't be afraid to stop me. So in the 66 kilo, it was Dusty Cook, one of my guys, Anthony Andrade, which is Chris Andrade's son, and he's been to several of my contests and was actually also at, you might remember seeing him at South Jersey 4.
Yes.
So then we had Aaron Carr and Aiden Hunsinger. Both of those guys are my guys in the 66 kilo class. Chris Andrade was all by himself in the 83 kilo. Don Smitley and Luke Raymond went head-to-head in the 93 kilo. As we go to the 105 kilo class, we had 5 competitors: Dawson Brown, Jim Wagner, and he's the hand therapist. He's like a doctor of hand therapy or something like that, a title similar to that in the area here. So he's highly interested in hand strength. He had a fantastic time at the competition. We also had Brandon.
Was he the Hawk?
Yeah.
Hawk strip guy?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, good memory.
I thought I recognized the name.
Yep, he's the one that did the instructor class for the Hawk grips when I took it back in October of 2016. So, yeah, and he's awesome, man. He's an awesome dude. I've trained with him a few times. I've been to 2. I went to the certification course for Hawk grips, and then also like a one-on-one tutorial that he did. And man, he just hearing him talk and talk about hands and stuff like that, it's amazing. Brandon Marlowe is a first-time competitor in the 105 kilo class, and he came down with Ryan Thomas. So they're both from Syracuse. Ryan Thomas has been at a few of my competitions, including King Kong this past year. Matt Lane was in the 105 kilo class, and he plans on cutting down to the 93 kilo class because he is now he has been working on his qualifications for nationals and just reached it based on cutting weight down to the 93 kilo. So he's planning on coming to nationals this year now. And he's been a coaching client with me for over a year and has done at least 2 or 3 competitions at my place. So he did phenomenal. He looked so strong, so much stronger on the grip lifts compared to the last time that he competed here. Just been doing a lot of grip and a lot of strength work, and he actually got 180 pounds on the napalm pinch, which was something like 35 pounds higher than the last time that he did it. So that was really awesome to see. And then the last guy in the 105 kilo group, I'm sure you've heard this name before, Alan, here or there, is Storm Chellino.
Yes.
He's like an elite arm wrestler from like the Wilkes-Barre area in Pennsylvania. Phenomenal arm wrestler. He's been like the big winner at the WAL championships, the national championships before. So this guy has some crazy potential, and some of the stuff that he did was pretty amazing during the competition. You're aware of Storm Chellino, right, Alan?
I am, yes, and I knew he was a top-level arm wrestler, and I've seen some of his lifts in the past, like when he effortlessly picked up, the inch dumbbell, and then I saw some of what he did at this competition. No, it makes you wonder if some of us shouldn't just start arm wrestling and rock climbing, and just incorporate it in somehow, because it seems like those guys they've got it dialed right in. They just show up and start lifting heavy things,
Right. And I don't know if every arm wrestler would be able to do it, but I think there's definitely a value there in like the cross training aspect, meaning you take bits and pieces of arm wrestling and you put it into your training, depending on what you might need to improve upon, and it could just be something that triggers that growth that you need in order to go to the next level. Storm, like Luke has told me before that I think his first match ever was against Storm, and it was like he couldn't even move him. It was over in a flash. So, and that's Luke just won his weight class just yesterday at a competition. I don't know where they were at, but he won the 187 weight class for right hand. So, congrats to him.
187?
Yeah,
he cut some weight.
Yeah.
That's a drop and a half.
Yeah, I guess he was laced. He said the abs were looking pretty good.
Holy cow! That's a ton. That's a ton. That's like 15 pounds under where he's like in for grip. Geez. Wow.
That's right.
That's a boatload.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. He said he hadn't eaten or drank since like noon the day before when I talked to him Friday, and weigh-ins were at 6 p.m. So
and he kept his power.
Yeah. Well, when you have, when you get to weigh in the night before, I think.
It was the night before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he probably went and spent a few hours at some buffet then that evening, I suppose, had to load back up. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good. Boy.
Yeah, buddy. So then we bounced down to the 120 kilo class. We had 3 people. We had Ryan Thomas, who I mentioned before, who's been to a few of my competitions. Great potential on this guy. Great potential. He doesn't have the implements, but like his hands are really strong. He could do well if he got some of the implements and things. I think he would like his numbers would blow up. Also had Joe Sullivan in the 120 kilo class. He's gripping for Jesus on YouTube, and he did really well. Let's see here. Like he even beat me on one of the events. So, and held his own on the other ones. And again, he's got minimal experience. So, once he gets more, he's going to do even better. And I was the third one in the 120 kilo class. Then we had the 120 plus, and it was Mike Rinderly. You know that name, right, Alan?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, so he did real well. Yeah, and he's been training his ass off, dude. He's really motivated right now. He told me about some of the goals that he has before he's, gets too old and can't do it anymore. Because he's 50 now. He's actually 50, and he's a monster. Every time I see him, I swear he gets bigger, and like he's so much bigger than he looks on his videos. It's amazing. So he was in the 120 kilo class or 120 plus. Also, Adam Culver. Adam Culver is basically Luke's arm wrestling training partner, I would say. So he's a first-time competitor in grip competitions, but he's done a couple arm wrestling tournaments with Loop. Here's another name from the past, Frank Snyder. Used to be Magnus on the grip board. I don't know if you recall either of those names, Alan.
I've seen that name pop up in some searches. The name Magnus, anyway. I never associated it with a Frank Snyder, though.
Right. Well, he's a guy from the area as well. I bet he doesn't live too far from Storm Chellino, actually. I think he's from Moosic, Pennsylvania, and he's a brute. So, like, he was closing threes, and I think 3.5s when he was, like, 18, when he was still in high school. And after he got out of high school, he kind of found other pastimes or whatever, so he hasn't done it as much. But he was still able to get 200 pounds on the two-hand pinch this time, so he did pretty darn well for himself. John Stepien was also in the 120 plus. He was tipping the scales at like 300, 302, and he did very, very well. He finished very high in the competition. And then we had another first-time competitor, a young lady, Caitlin Wagner. It was Jim Wagner's daughter, and I believe she is 11 or 12 as well. So she had a fun time as well. Unfortunately, Jim and Caitlin had to take off. The contest ran really long, and they weren't able to do all the events, unfortunately. But I know they had a good time while they were there. So that's the competitor list, big man. I think it comes out to 20 people. Yeah,
that's a good turnout. So Chris Andrade's firmly in the 83K class now, then, huh? Yeah. Congrats to him on his weight loss. Then I've seen some pictures of him. He's looking real good these days. So
that's
the way to go.
Yep. 2 in a row that he's done, and or rather that might be 3 in a row because he did grip miss as well. So 3 contests in a row that he's been at 83. And this time it was easy. All he had to do was like take his shoes off, and he was in the class. So he's comfortably in there. Yeah. Sure. Is that where he plans on sticking around, or? I think he actually might want to get to 74. I'm not quite sure. I don't remember what he said. I think he might want to get to 74. I think he can get there. It's just a matter of time, how long it'll take him to get there. But his dieting has been very, very effective. He used to be in my weight class in like the 120s. Yep. I knew he was on the heavier side. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Well, good. This pays dividends in a lot of ways. So he'll like being down there. Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cool. Some highlights. So the events, the event order was 2-hand pinch on the Napalm or on the Euro, and then 2-inch Napalm's Nightmare was the second event. Then we did Little Bighorn for the third event. We did inch pinch for the fourth event, and then the last event was pinch block curl. And all of these were for max weight in 4 attempts, which turned out to be kind of a bad decision for us since we ended up having 20 people. But we, going into the last few weeks, we only had like 6 people that were confirmed for the competition, so it made sense at that time. And then we switched one thing. We were going to do on the Napalm's Nightmare, we were going to do the attachment with the crane scale, and we decided against it. We decided to actually weigh all of the 45s that are at Tim's gym and just go with straight weight, and we went with a 6-inch pole. And what worked really nice, Alan, was we had all the lifters, instead of using the crossbar and knock stick, we had them all stand on 6-inch blocks, and then the judge just looked to make sure the bottom of the loading pin raised above the 6-inch block.
Above the blocks. Sure. Yeah. Well, that's a good way of doing it. Yeah, like what we do with the V-bar, basically. Yep. Okay.
Yep. It's just the blocks are so big, it's much easier to tell, and you have more control over the Napalm's Nightmare than you do the V-bar, and it's not like rotating and trying to rip out of your hand the same. So the judging was like extremely easy. We at one point, dude, we even had Aiden Hunsinger doing the judging, the 11, 12-year-old kid in the 66-kilo class. That's how easy it was. So
sure.
And pretty much, if you can pull it 6 inches, you can usually pull it to lockout. So you can't necessarily hold it there forever, but there were very few controversial calls. I think there was one time where we stopped the camera and did a replay. So it was really, really easy.
Nice.
Yeah. So any questions on the events? Two-hand pinch, Napalm's Nightmare, Little Bighorn, inch pinch, pinch block curl. Any questions on those?
Just another question about your with the Napalm's Nightmare lift. You were talking about lifting to that the height.
Yeah.
So these guys were literally lifting, but they were waiting for a down call then.
Correct.
Okay. Is that how you're going to kind of have things set up? Like, is that what you have in mind? I don't know if you've got a leaderboards on the Napalm's Nightmare or not, but is that what you envision moving forward, or are you thinking like it's still a knock bar and you know what I'm saying?
Let me clarify. Once the unit got high enough, we would say down, and then they would set it down. But they weren't like pulling it above the 6-inch block and then holding it, waiting for a down call or anything like that.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So no pause at the top, like you're waiting for the. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Right. But you asked about for the online videos and stuff like that. They could use a 6-inch marker or show that they're 6-inch blocks.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Now the inch pinch, you guys use the standard one. It's like a 1-inch by 3-inch or whatever. That's the block you guys were using.
Yeah, I believe he calls the other one that you have the shallow inch pinch based on
the shallow
hub and shallow hub. So
sure.
We did not use that one. We just used the regular one, and we just specified that you couldn't let your thumb or finger get under the bottom of the implement.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
On that, have you guys seen any skin issues with the deeper, with the regular inch pinch?
Absolutely zero tears. Zero tears. It does,
cool.
After a while, so I got up to using it twice a week, I think, for the last couple of weeks, and generally on the second day, or if I pulled really two days really close, then my skin would get hot. It would get irritated, and I think it is possible to rip your skin. I'm not going to say that it's impossible. I don't want to paint like an incorrect picture there, but I haven't seen any tears. It does feel some discomfort in there, very uncomfortable at times after you've used it quite a bit, but I haven't seen any tears. So,
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. Yeah, I get a lot more thumbprint on the shallow one. I would think on the longer one you'd get a lot more almost side thumb involvement. I would think like an actual two-hand pinch.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yep.
I actually haven't used the shallow inch pinch yet, so I really don't know how I grabbed that one, but you described it pretty well for just the regular inch pinch.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool.
With no blocker. Cool. All right, so maybe some highlights about the two-hand pinch.
All right, yeah, let's hear it.
All right, so Dusty Cook almost pulled body weight. So Dusty is my 17-year-old wrestler that never really lifted weights before 2017 and has never done grip except for what I've had him do in the gym. And he weighed, I don't have the weights in front of me, I want to say he was like 142 on the day and lifted 139 on the implement. So he almost pulled body weight.
Nice.
Yeah, his weight class that he wrestles in is 138. So he cuts down to 138, or in order to make weight, he has to weigh 138. But I think he was a little bit over on the day, but he still pinched almost body weight at 139.88 pounds. So that was crazy. I couldn't even believe it. Next in the weight class was Aaron Carr, 103. And then Aiden got 77, and then Anthony Andrade got 76. So I think one thing that I was proud of for myself on this one was that I was able to dictate the attempts for like Aaron and Aiden like pretty darn well, because and Dusty also. You know, they didn't end up making too big of jumps, and they didn't end up wasting any attempts for the most part. So I was happy there, just as an assistant, that they were able to get some real good attempts. Sometimes when people are new and you don't know them, it's hard to tell them what to do, and they end up taking too small of jumps. You know what I mean?
Sure. Did you have minimum jumps that were allowed? You was like 2.5 pounds or 5 pounds? Okay.
Yeah, 5 pounds, and then we would have gone to smaller than that. If they were shooting for like a body weight record, we would have definitely let them, take a smaller attempt. But it was standard across the board for pinch to go a 2.5 on each side. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And then Chris Andrade ended up with 139. I'm not sure how that equates. I don't remember how he did as far as like his all-time best or anything like that. So I wish I had more information or had him on the line to ask him. But he finished at 139, and then in the 93 kilo, Luke came in at 214. I think he might have missed an attempt at some point along the lines and then came back and got it. But this is actually really far down from what his numbers have been in training. He actually beat me one day on the two-hand pinch. My finger was bothering me, so I wasn't 100%. But he actually beat me with like a 228 or something like that pull one day in training. So he was down a little bit. I think he said he was up at like 4, like pacing. And I don't know how well he did for maintaining his hydration throughout the event, but this dude was everywhere. We had a malfunction of one of our lock devices on the two-hand pinch, so he had to actually run to the store to get new nuts because nuts and bolts, because the bolt stripped out and wouldn't hold tight on the implement. So so we went and got that. We switched out one of the collars, and believe it or not, dude, we ended up breaking one of our York cast iron collars. It totally split right down the middle, just like the seam of your pants. I have never seen it before ever happen. I don't ever want to see it again, but it was like endless, dude, this stuff that was in our face about this competition that went wrong that we weren't anticipating. It was unbelievable.
Wow, those collars are fairly robust.
Dude, yeah, for sure.
It is. And if that was an older York, if you want to source another one like that, you're going to have some – you're dropping a couple bucks, some of that. Well, those type of collars in general are rather expensive. I think a pair is – I don't know if they're like $50 or something like that.
Yeah,
but if you want an older pair of Yorks, boy, you're going to spend some money.
Yeah, for sure.
Darn.
And we had then Don hit 190. Again, I don't know where that puts him as far as like his PRs and stuff like that. Big surprise in the 105, dude. What do you think Storm got? Maybe you saw it. Did you see what Storm got on the two-hand pinch?
Yeah, he was over. Wasn't he over? He was around 220 or something like that, wasn't he? 220 pounds.
220 pounds. First time that he ever even touched the implement. Yeah, 220 pounds.
That's solid stuff.
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure.
That's wicked strong thumbs. And he never even was this. Whose two-hand pinch setup was this? Was this yours or was this Luke's?
Yeah, it was
yours.
mine.
Okay, all right.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a monstrous. I wonder what his one-hand number is like on something like that.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see. We've been dying to get him up here. And see what he can pull off. So yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
Next, we had in second for the 105 was 180 by Matt Lane. So, like I said, that was a huge jump from last time. And then Brandon Marlowe and my guy Dawson Brown both got 147.9, and Jim Wagner got 142. In the 120 class, I topped out at 248. I went for 253, but didn't get it. And then Joe Sullivan got 190, so he narrowly missed 200 pounds, and Ryan Thomas got 167. So I think that's the first time he's done two-hand pinch. He's done one-hand pinch before, but not two-hand pinch. John Stepien also had a big two-hand pinch in the 120 plus. He got 220 pounds, so that's pretty darn good. I don't know what his best ever was. Frank Snyder got 200 pounds, which really pissed off Mike Rinderly because Mike really wanted 200 pounds and he didn't get it. And Frank came in and got 200 pounds without really even training. So I think that was, kind of stuck in Mike's craw throughout the day. So Mike got 184. What he did was I think he usually pinches on 54. And I think he dropped down to like 44 or 48, maybe 48, to get it deeper in his hand. Didn't pay off. It felt really uncomfortable for him when the weights got heavier. And then he came in for just a tester attempt when we were on like 58 millimeters, and he smoked a weight higher than what he got at 48. So his little experiment failed. And then Adam got 180, which was pretty good because I don't think he's done two-hand pinch either. He did one-hand pinch with us on the flask for King Kong, but only got 180, but never did two-hand pinch. So 180 is pretty darn respectable.
Yeah, right.
Using it. And then Caitlin, she got 48 pounds. So we had to do some stuff to make her able to even lift the implement because I forgot my aluminum weights at home. We didn't actually know that Caitlin was coming, and I always keep a set of aluminum steel plates, what would be steel plates on the outside of the implement. We have a set that are aluminum if people can't lift the base weight of the regular implement. So they were at home. So we just had to take, if I remember correctly, we got a good width down for her. So it was pretty narrow, maybe 44 millimeters. And then we took the collars off, the regular collars off, because that's another 10 pounds off. And that gave her the ability to get some legal lifts in.
Sure.
Just had to think on her feet.
Yeah.
So yeah,
yep.
There's the two-hand pinch rundown right there. So I came in first in the overall, and then it was John and Storm. John in second. Oh, they both hit the same number, 220.563. So they tied for second, and then the third place would have been Luke at 214.9.
Some good numbers there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. So, one thing I didn't realize on the two-hand pinch, I didn't know that once you picked your width, you were married to that for the rest of it. I would have thought you could, if let's say Mike picks 48 and takes a lift, he's like, oh, this sucks, I don't like it. Can he not just grab the next width then, or he's stuck there then?
I'm under the assumption that once you pick a width, you're stuck with that width for all four attempts.
Okay.
Because it's come up a few times at Gripmas. I remember that people that's why it's so important, if possible, to get your hands on the implement before a contest.
Sure.
Because just to iron that one piece out,
Yeah.
If I'm wrong, I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I would love to give people the opportunity to take maybe their last two attempts at the next width, but probably something I would need to clarify with David, or just look at what's in the rules, because I seem to think that you're stuck with what you choose at the beginning.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. And then it'd be neat if it's too bad. I know because the scale wouldn't be calibrated, but for the people that can't lift the base implement, in the absence of aluminum plates and other ways to lighten up the device, it's almost too bad you can't set it on a scale as is, just literally on a scale and pull and just subtract the number that you were able to lift and come up with a lift that way.
Right.
So if it's 70 pounds on the scale, you lift, it says 35, you pulled 35, and then put that to books. Because it's it's not setting records anyway, but it gets your name and the numbers on the competition anyway. Just an easier way anyhow.
Zero, and you don't end up with a zero, because a lot of people won't be able to get aluminum plates for that option anyway.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah. Yep. That's a good point. Next event was 2-inch Napalm's Nightmare, and rather than go down all of the weight classes, what I'll do is I'll kind of give you highlights on how the overall panned out. We figured for sure, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Storm was going to get 500 pounds. We figured for sure. And we were like, dude, he didn't know where to come in at or what jumps to take. We're like, dude, don't worry about it. You're going to get 500 pounds. Because we figured he was more than capable of doing it. As it turned out, we got him in there for like a safe lift. Don't get me wrong. We didn't have him start at 500 pounds. That wouldn't be right. But we got him in there on the board. And he topped out at 460, which put him in the second place position. And John Stepien and I tied in first with 480. So that was pretty good. That's right where I've been hitting in training. So that worked out well. And my back I had the beginnings of a messed up back at this competition. So I was really, really deliberate with how I set up and everything like that, because I was kind of like tentative about my back. And then that carried on for like another 10 days after that. Looking at the numbers, so it was 480 for first place, 460 for second for Storm. Joe Sullivan got 436. We had some other guys over 400. We had Matt Lane and Luke Raymond both got 407. So Matt had never touched it before either and was able to tie Luke. Ryan Thomas just missed 400. He got 391. And then it looks like we dropped down to 372 for Don Smitley. We had 327 for Jim Wagner. Pretty good considering that he's never used the implement. Brandon Marlowe ended up zeroing out. I'm not sure what he attempted. Frank Snyder, I skipped over him. He also had 407. Mike Rinderly had 381. Jim Wagner got 327. 318 for my man Dawson Brown. 372 for Don Smitley. 292 for Chris Andrade. 131 for Anthony Andrade and Aiden Hunsinger, 292 for Dusty Cook, and 194 for Aaron. And then what did Caitlin get? She got 96. So there's the numbers for Napalm's Nightmare.
I was curious about what you were going to say Dusty Cook came up with, since he was pinching body weight or almost pinching body weight on the two-hand pinch. I was curious if he was going to go over double on the Napalm's Nightmare, and he hit it. So
yeah.
So he's got, and that's a solid foundation. Yeah, I'd be curious what he could pull on on an axle. Should be pretty close to legit double body weight on that, I would think.
Very possible. Yeah, good point.
Nice.
Good point.
Well, strong dude.
Cool. The last event was Little Bighorn, and we did it as per Iron Mine rules, and that is to pull it to lockout and wait for a down signal. So that's what we did, and Luke ended up getting a new world record on that. He pulled 215 pounds on that piece. So that was one of the events he picked, so he did really well on it. He trained it hard. I trained it as hard as I could and still sucked on it. I only got 179, which is less than the last time I did it, like 2 years ago in King Kong or something like that. I can't remember when it was, but I actually dropped down from the last time I competed on it. It's just I'm horrible at Little Bighorn and 2-inch vertical bar.
The Little Bighorn is a really weird thing for me. I can't. Yeah. I picked up 2 just for doing, like pull-ups and stuff on it, which I like doing. Right. But you clamp that thing onto a loading pin, and I'm worthless. It's just I cannot warm up to it in that fashion. I like doing, chin-ups, but yeah, for whatever reason, the other way, it's not even fun. It just comes out of your hand, smashes into things. It's just not. Yeah. It just doesn't do it for me.
It's true.
But it's cool for other guys that lift some monster. I mean, not to take away, 215 pounds. That's huge. That is way more than I'm doing. So that's you got a strong grip on you. So. Yeah,
for sure.
Yep.
John Stepien, who's done like 320 pounds on the 2-inch vertical bar, he got 188.55 on the Little Bighorn. Joe Sullivan, who I know that he's been over 300 pounds. I don't know what he's gotten on the 2-inch vertical bar, but he also got 188.55. So that was the second place pull. Then I believe we dropped down to my 179. Then we go to 169. So Storm got 169 there. As you can see, like me, him, and Luke are pretty close throughout the whole contest. When someone drops down, they come right back up on the next event. So, and you'll see that pretty much went out through the whole entire contest. In the 150s, we saw Ryan Thomas, 154.3, Don Smitley, 154.3, Adam Culver, 154.3. Mike Rinderly got 169. I skipped over him. So he was tied with Storm. And then, let's see, we had 144 for Matt Lane and also 144 for Frank Snyder. So Mike got some scores back on Frank there. Oh, and then who else? Dusty. Dusty ended up getting 109 on the Little Bighorn, having absolutely no idea what he was doing with it. So that was fantastic.
Yeah, not bad.
Yep, Chris Andrade, 135. Jim Wagner got just shy of 100 pounds, 99.95. 109.8 for Dawson. So Dawson and Dusty tied on that one. And they're teammates at Northeast Bradford High School, so I'm sure they had a little bit of rivalry going on.
Sure.
And I've kind of lost my place. 119 for Brandon Marlowe. Caitlin got 46 pounds. I think that's about it. Aaron got 80 pounds, and then Aiden and Anthony tied at 65. So that's about how it rolls out there for Little Bighorn.
Not bad. Yeah, some impressive lifts.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for such a strange thing. That's always been an awkward one. I can never even figure out how to grip the thing.
Right.
I think that's probably a big factor to it too. I think you'd see, like Storm Chellino and stuff would probably pull even higher. You spend a little time with that thing, especially based on what he'd done on some of the other lifts. So
right. Yeah, for sure.
Nice. Cool.
2 more events to go. We had Inch Pinch. And so this is a fantastic story, dude. I'll give you some other scores. Dusty 46, Anthony 31, Aaron 36, Aiden 28, Chris 49, Don 68, Luke 75, Dawson 58, Jim had to leave, Brandon 50, Matt 60, Ryan 60, Joe 70, Rindo 68, Adam 63, Frank 63, John 78, and Caitlin had to leave. So, Storm, myself, and Joe Sullivan all tied at 78. Joe's out of attempts, okay? I had 2 attempts left. I played my cards very, very smartly. So it's only Storm and I left in the competition. We both have 78 on the board. And I look at Storm, and I was like, what do you want to go to, buddy? And he said, I don't know. What do you think? I don't know what I'm doing. I was like, so then I was like, I'm going to start talking snap. So I've heard him before. He can lay it down. So I was like, I'm going to try to get into his head a little bit. So I can't remember what I said. Okay, exactly. I can't remember what we said, but I think I kind of went back to how I beat him on the thick bar event. And I said, all right, why don't we do this, bro? Why don't we do this? When you hit 88 miles an hour in the DeLorean in Back to the Future, you can time travel. So why don't we go right to 88 pounds? And I was thinking that 10 pounds would scare him, right? He's like, okay, let's do it. So now I'm like, crap, because the most I've ever done on this is like 70, 72 pounds added to a little bitty loading pin. So
this is awesome.
Yeah, so we get it to 88.275 pounds. And I go up there, man, and I chalk that thing perfectly. I cinched that thing up, and I cracked it off the ground maybe an inch. So everybody's like, whoa, boy. Dude, I wish we had the whole thing on camera. I really do. It would have been like the greatest thing that's happened all year in grip, and I think it would have gotten like 10,000 views on YouTube. After I talk smack to him, really give him more attitude than I really should, considering that this is only the second or third time that I've ever met him. He goes up there, dude, and doesn't just lift 88 pounds to the marker. He lifts it to darn near lockout, and says, "Is this good enough, Jedd?" And then sets it back down. 88 pounds, no problem. I'm like, holy crap, what just happened? What just happened? So it was unbelievable. So then I'm floundering. I'm like lost. I'm like, I don't know what just happened here. I felt like Hulk Hogan wrestling Andre the Giant, like totally in the dark. And I went up there and totally missed 88 pounds. So I blew my last two attempts by calling 88 pounds just because of Back to the Future. So
that's hilarious.
Yeah. So then we wanted to see if he could pull 100. So we loaded it up to 100 and change, and he didn't get it. But it was worth taking a few extra minutes for that.
He get any air under it or anything, or how'd he do?
No, I don't think he got any air on it. That's
okay.
Yeah.
Well, that is a big number. Yeah. No, that lift was hilarious because he had the chance to pick it up, held it long enough to shoot his mouth off, and then set it back down. I saw that video that Luke posted. That was really something.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the story behind that video. So when you see him look up and like stick his tongue out at me, say like 2 or 3 lines of shit talk, and then give me a wink, that's why. Because I started all that stuff. I started it getting it going and stirring the pot. And then it only got worse from then on, man, because then I knew that it was going to be really, really close between me and him going into the pinch block curl. Because, I'm figuring superior wrist strength on that guy. So I kind of kicked my game up a little bit. So the last event was pinch block curl. So this is where you stand with your butt, the shoulder blade of your curling hand and your head have to be in contact from the moment you start the lift to the completion of the lift up, and then lowering the weight back down, and then that's a good lift. So it was very, very strict. That was exactly how we did it at the 2014 Nationals, so we kept it exactly the same. And I'll run down the numbers just in order of what on my sheet that I have here. Dusty, 22. Anthony, 12. Aaron Carr, 20. So Aaron is like 5 years younger than Dusty and only missed by like 2.5 pounds the number that he got. Aaron's a very, very strong young lad. Aiden, 15. Chris Andrade, 22. Don Smitley, 25. Luke Raymond got first place with 49 pounds. I think that might be a new world record, but I'm not sure. I haven't entered the data yet. Dawson, 25. Matt Lane, 30. Jim was already gone, and Brandon skipped the event because he had some pain in his arm. Storm ended up getting 39.9. Ryan Thomas, 37. Joe Sullivan, 45. I got 47. Mike Renderly, 32. Adam Culver, 32. 28 for Frank Snyder. 35 for John Stepien. And then Caitlin had already headed home. So what you see here is things came right down to the wire, and what happened was we told everybody we were going to be very, very strict with the curls, and Storm ended up fouling on either 1 or 2 of his last attempts. So that was what got him, and I believe we had someone neutral. It wasn't me or Luke doing the judging that I recall. I think it might have been like Renderly or even Chris Andrade or somebody like that, just so it didn't look bad. But it was pretty blatant. He like pulled his head off, so his attempts didn't count. So I think he had more in him than 39, but it was actually shaky. I think he was a little bit shaky on the implement, actually. Again, first time he's ever used it.
Right.
And he comes in, what maybe ends up being 4th place, I guess. 49, 47, 45. Yeah, it looks like 4th place. So did very well. Just wasn't good enough. And the way that it shook out, Storm did win the 105 class. Now I've got another sheet up here. I know in the overall I won. So the order was me in first place in the overall, Luke Raymond second, Storm Chellino in third, John Stepien in fourth, and then 5th place was Joe Sullivan. So that was the top 5. And then most of those people were weight class winners as well. So the only one that wasn't was Joe, because he was in my weight class. But the other ones were also weight class winners. I can tell you the weight class winners of the other two weight classes real quick. So Dusty won the 66 kilo class, Chris the 83 kilo class, Luke the 93 kilo class, Storm won the 105, I won the 120, and then John Stepien won the 120 plus, and then Caitlin was the only female lifter. So that's the comp right there, dude. Couple cool highlights, couple funny moments. Like I said, I wish someone had that on tape, that little interaction between me and Storm, because it was classic. It was just classic.
Yeah, it sounded like fun. Yeah. No, I loved that video. It looked to me like, too, especially on that inch pinch, like he had probably a good 5 pounds left in him on that one. It seemed to me,
yeah, for sure.
You know,
he had more left.
That was strong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice. So what did the younger competitors think of some of the events? What was the overall favorite?
They definitely weren't used to anything like that, because I have had like the young kids. I guess all the kids have actually done pinch holds with the pinch block curl, but we haven't done actual curls with it. So there was definitely a lack of familiarity, because, like I said, most of these guys didn't tell me they wanted to compete until the week of, so there wasn't really any time to get them rolling. But I'm so glad that they did. It was awesome seeing it. It was very, very enjoyable. A lot of times when these guys are wrestling, you know, I never wrestled in high school. I did in gym class, but I really can't. I don't really know what's going on in the matches, so it's tough for me, even when I see them, to really know that they've, you know, gotten a good position, or they've beaten some hold, or they've done something that's real difficult. You know, I can tell when they win because there's a score, but with grip, you know, seeing them hit the numbers they do compared to other people that I've seen compete, it can be really a big difference. When you know what's going on. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. Yep. No, I know exactly what you're saying about wrestling scoring, too.
Yeah.
That's always an issue for me. It's like you see somebody do the same thing twice, but they get a different score this time than they did the last time. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yep.
It's tough. But I'm, you know, it's like football and baseball and all that stuff. There's all these rules that if you've never played, it'd be hard to understand everything. But,
cool.
Yeah, it was an excellent competition. It ran much longer than we expected because of the 4 attempts per lift and so many competitors, but I didn't hear any complaints, and I'm sure everybody will be back again sometime. So, pumped about it.
Sure. How long did the competition take from start to finish?
We started at 10. I think we were done by 5 or 6.
Oofda. Okay.
Yeah. So,
that is some endurance, yeah. Getting especially I would think having the younger ones staying focused through the whole thing.
Yeah.
So that would be, yeah.
Well, I kind of talked to him. I was like, you got to understand, this is going to be a long contest. It's not only a lifting session, you know, because they lift for an hour. But I was like, this is going to be much longer than you're used to doing. So they kind of knew about that going in, and I had them bring food and money for drinks and stuff like that. So it worked out real well.
Nice. Well, good. Hopefully they'll stick with it.
Yeah,
a lot of fun, that's for sure.
Yeah, cool. Hopefully they take part in the next one, whatever that may be. So, yeah, but that's it, dude. That's everything for me. Any other questions on the competition?
No. One thing about the pinch block curl. How wide is that curl? The pinch block itself. 2 inches. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. That's one thing I'd never picked up. I have a homemade one of those things that's 2 inches. I was always curious about that. So neat. Yep. Yeah. Well, those are some good numbers, because that's not easy doing that, like plate curling type stuff. That's a tricky one. That's a real weak point of mine. That's for sure.
And for me, it was a big knowing that I'm going against Storm. That was a big pick me up, because I was only doing 35 pounds in training. You know, I was doing for sets of 2 and 3. But I wasn't expecting to get 47 or whatever it was I got. I didn't think I would be there. And I think I went for 49 on my last attempt and missed it. So I was going for the tie there. That would have helped me out big time. But the scores were extremely close in the overall, dude. I didn't go over that, but they were extremely close. Listen to this. So I had 46. Luke had 45, and then John had 43. Storm had 44, and John had 43, and then 42 points for Joe. So they were all separated by like 1 point. So it was extremely close. This was one of the closest contests I've ever been involved in for the top 5.
Wow. Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah. So, part of it is the events. Like a lot of people, if you had the inch pinch or trained it or anything close to it, then you had a big advantage over the people that didn't. Same with pinch block curl, but a lot of these guys have done that before just because they've been to my competitions before. And the Napalm's Nightmare was foreign for somebody, but, because of the little bighorn being in there, there was no way for me personally to get like a big lead on anyone, because once I got it, I lost it because of the little bighorn. So I knew that I had to do very, very well in the other two. So I would have liked to have gotten that 253 in the two-hand pinch, but I settled, got to settle for 248 there. And then, I figured I was pretty good in the Napalm's Nightmare with the 480, and I'm glad that I did, because that made the difference once I got my head chopped off on the little bighorn. So,
sure,
that's the beauty of percentage scoring. That's why I love it so much, and that's why we do it in just about all the NAGS competitions, because it makes for a much better storyline.
Right. Hey, for fun, did anybody load 500 onto the Napalm's Nightmare and take a crack at it, or nobody built up to that?
I don't think so, and I definitely wasn't going to take an extra pull because of my back. So I don't think anybody did, buddy.
Okay, all right. Curious. Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, some big numbers anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, that's it for episode 43 of This Week in Grip, everybody. The hands-on grip games wrap up. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Comment down below. Let us know other stuff you'd like to see, and we'll be back shortly with another one. See you then.